Hello Sumit, you're welcome to another beautiful tutorial. My name is Efere Messi, the creative hands behind Come Fashion. So we'll be learning how to make this beautiful crop top you see me wear here. Now the next video I'll be uploading is how I made the palazzo trouser using the slash and spread method. You can see how nice the top is on my body. So the materials needed for it, you can see that I used two materials for the top. So I'm using crepe and the main Ankara fabric, crepe and Ankara. So the next thing I will go ahead to draft. Now, I have my paper folded into two, as you can see in the video, because I want to draft the front and the back parts together. So after that, the first thing you will have to do now, I will have to take my chest line measurement. So my chest line, for the course of this video, I'm using 8 inches for my chest line measurement, right? So after marking 8 inches, this is me just indicating, I'm just marking the 8 inches that we use to connect a straight horizontal line to take my measurement on. Then the full length of the top, I'm using 18.5, and that's what you can see that I'm marking on the paper, 18.5. So after imputing my markings like this correctly, I'll go ahead and connect them straight with my straight ruler. So first of all, I'll connect my chest line. Then after connecting the chest line, I'll go ahead to connect the full length of the crop top we're working with. So the next thing we'll be doing is to take the shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 15 inches. Divide by 2 is 7.5. I'll go ahead and impute 7.5. I'll also go to the chest line and I will impute 7.5. Then after that, I will connect with a straight ruler from the chest line to the neck part of this pattern, like you see me do in the video. You just connect like this. Then the next thing is to do the shoulder tightening. Now I'm using 1.5 for my shoulder, 1 inch, sorry, I'm using 1 inch for the shoulder tightening. So for the neck width, I'm using 3.5 for the neck width. Please take note of that. This part wasn't really showing very well, but you'll still understand what I'm explaining. It's 3.5 I use for the neck width. Please take note. Then after that, the remaining part of the armhole line, we've minus 1 inch now. The remaining part, will divide it into two to get the midpoint. Then from that midpoint, you will come in by half an inch. This is where we are going to be connecting our armhole curve. So the next thing now, I want to take the front and the back neckline depth. So for the front neck depth, I'm using 1 inch. For the back, I'm using 1 inch for the neck depth for the back, or 1.5, anyhow you want it. Then for the front, I'm using 3.5. The width is 3.5. I'm also using 3.5 for the depth. Then for the back, I ended up using 1.5 for the back. So for the back is 1.5, for the front is 3.5. So it depends on you, but I won't say you should exceed 1.5 for your back neck depth. So I will go ahead to the chest line. I will impute my bust measurement, quarter of my bust measurement. I will add half an inch for ease allowance. Then I will now add 1 inch for seam allowance, which is also known as the joining allowance. You can see that the top is free on my body. I would have even preferred it to be even freer than it is on my body. So you can add more than half an inch as your ease allowance. Hope you understand. So this is me just connecting the armhole together with my armhole curve. You just do it the same way I did mine. So I will go to the waist part. I will impute my waist measurement. I will add half an inch for ease allowance. Then I will add 1 inch for sewing allowance. So for the course of this video, I didn't take more than 1 inch for sewing allowance because I'm not turning with lining. Do you get? If you're used to my videos, I normally use 1.5 for my sewing allowance, but for the course of this video, I'm using 1 inch. So this is me just cross-checking my measurement, and I realized that it wasn't right. My bust measurement wasn't correct. I have to add extra half an inch to it. You can see that I'm just cross-checking to see that I have the right measurement done. So please, let's say your bust measurement is 7 inches, then you will make it 7.5. Do you get? Before you now add your sewing allowance. Do you understand? Now if you now want yours to be freer than it is on my body now, you can decide to add 1 inch. So if your bust measurement is 7, it means you are using 8, right, before you now add your sewing allowance. So that's exactly what I've just done. So now I'm just going ahead to connect the back armhole line, and you don't have to curve it the same way we curve the front. I will just place the ruler and connect it to the midpoint like so. Hope you can see. So I have my back neckline, my front neckline, my back armhole curve, and my front armhole curve. So now for me to cut this thing out now, I have to first of all cut for the back. Do you understand? So I'll go ahead and cut my paper. Please follow every step in this video that I'm showing us so that you will not miss any part of it. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out like you see me do. First of all, I'm cutting for the back pattern. You can see the lines I'm following, that even the neck depth, I only cut for the back pattern. Do you understand? So you just cut out like this. I will just cut it out like this before I will now go ahead to separate the paper. So after separating the paper now, I cannot cut the armhole for the front and the armhole and the neck depth for the front separately. Do you understand? So this other part of it now will be for the back. Then this other one that I'll be tracing out will be for the front. So this is me just labeling it. You can see what I'm doing. The one for the back, I will also label it. So the next thing I will have to do now is to trim the front pattern correctly, because you see that it is still carrying the same shape for the back pattern. So we have to trim it, trim the neckline, trim the armhole line accordingly. Then I will now go ahead to cut on my material. It's a very simple tutorial, very simple to do. So I'll be showing us how I joined everything together using my bias for the neckline and every other part of it, how I sew the two pieces that I used together. So this is the front and the back pattern ready. The next thing will be drafting. Now I'll be doing my zipper tightening. So I will just go ahead to do 1/2 inch because I only added 1 inch for the zipper allowance, right? So I'll be doing 1/2 inch for zipper tightening, and I will be connecting it to the chest line area. So this is me just measuring. So you see that 8 inches that will measure for chest line, that's where my zipper tightening will end, because you don't want your zipper popping out, right? So yes, I still went ahead to do zipper tightening for this pattern. So after that, I will just go ahead and cut it off like this. You can see what I'm doing. Then the next thing I will do now, you see the 1/2 inch we've removed. Now we have to add it back to the side. You know that 1/2 inch, we remove it from the center back. We have to add it to the side. So I will just go ahead and add it to the side, which is what you can see me do. I'll just use my tape to tape it together, then I will cut it out. So the next thing we'll be doing now is to go ahead to cut on my fabric. I've done the zipper tightening, the front and the back pattern is ready. So we'll be going to do the sleeve. We have to cut our sleeve. I have my sleeve pattern ready, but for the sake of the beginners among us, we'll be drafting another sleeve. So I was just making sure that the paper will be enough for the sleeve I'm working on. So the first thing you have to do now is to get your sleeve cap. Please, I explain how to get sleeve cap on my video on how to make your off-shoulder sleeve. I'll drop the link in the description box. If you don't know how to get your sleeve cap, that video is very helpful. So I'll get the sleeve cap and the sleeve full length. Do you understand? Then I will roll straight lines. First of all, on the sleeve cap, I'll roll a straight line. I will go to the sleeve full length and I'll roll a straight line. Then the next thing I will be doing now, I measure the armhole of the pattern draft round for the front, and what I had there was 10 point quarter. That was what I had. And don't forget that the 1 inches we added, the 1 inch we added for the seam allowance is there also. So after marking the 10.5 like this, you can see what I'm marking, right? Then I'll go ahead to remove the 1 inch. Do you understand? So we are only going to be connecting now. If you remove 1 inch from 10.5, you'll be having 9 3/4. Yes. So now I will just connect a straight line from the tip of the paper to the second dot I marked for the main sleeve um, circumference. Then I will divide the line into 4. Do you get? So this is me dividing it into 4. Then on the second part, you come up by half an inch. Then the second to the last also, you come up by half an inch. Then you place your ruler to connect like you see me do. So the ruler, I'm placing it, it's going straight to the midpoint. Do you get? To the midpoint that were marked. You can see how I'm placing my ruler. That's how to get your sleeve done correctly. So after tracing your sleeve out, I will go ahead to take my circumference. That is my elbow circumference, not really my elbow though, but you measure wherever you want your sleeve length to end, you measure it round to get the circumference. So that's what I've just done, and this is me connecting the lines together. So I'll go ahead and cut it off, and I will use it to cut on the material for my sleeve. So after cutting the sleeve, after tracing the sleeve pattern out like this, you can see how I am cutting it out. Please don't make any mistake when doing your own. I will go ahead to cut on my material. So at the end of the day, we have our front pattern, we have the back, and we have the sleeve. So I've gone ahead to cut on the material. I have my sleeve done. For the back, I cut 2 parts, and I use just the crepe for the back because my Ankara is not much. So for the front, I cut 2 also, because, and you can see that there is half an inch. I added half an inch allowance that we used to join the front together. You can see the 2 parts for the front. And for the sleeve, I cut out 2. One is the crepe, one is the Ankara. As you can see from the beginning of this video, how it is on my body. So I'm just illustrating how I'll be placing the sleeve for us. So the next thing now we have to do now, we'll have to join the front parts together. So you just place the front part together. The half an inch you added for joining now, that's what you just sew out. So I'll go to the sewing machine and I'll sew that out for the front part, and then I'll come back and show us. So this is it. I've gone ahead to iron it also. I've ironed the stitches at the middle very straight and make sure that it is relaxing very well. So the next thing now is to join the shoulders. You can see the inside, the outside of it. So I will be joining the shoulders for the back. So we'll be joining the shoulders for the front and the back together. So I will go ahead to join the shoulders with half an inch. You can see exactly what I'm showing us. I'll join with half an inch. Then for the sides also, I will also join the side with 1 inch. You know we added 1 inch sewing allowance. So I've gone ahead to join the shoulders. I've already joined, and I've already joined the side with the 1 inch that we added for sewing allowance. So this is me just showing us, turning it to the other side for us to see. So we have to turn it with our bias. We all know how to turn with bias. So I just cut a straight Ankara piece as a bias, not bigger than 1 inch. I used 1 inch, so I will just use it to turn the shoulder around. Then this is what it looks like after turning. This is the inside. You can see how neatly done it is. Then when you turn it to the right side, this is what it looks on the right side of it. I haven't even given it a press here, so you can see how it is coming out, already coming together. So the next thing I want to do is to add the zip. I will really want to add the zip before adding my sleeve to it, so I will go ahead to add the zip to it, but I will sew few inches from the hem of the top up I'll just sew you in like 2 inches. I'll just run a straight line like 2 inches. Then from that 2 inches is where my zip will begin to the upper part. So this is it. I'll just go ahead to the machine, and I've gone ahead to fix the zip. You can see that I've attached the zip to it. I will cut it out because it is too long. After cutting, you can decide to burn it with fire. So this is what I have after attaching the sleeve. So the next part is just to attach the sleeve to it. Then I will now use bias. The same way we use bias to turn the neck, I will turn the bottom of it, and that will be all about this video. This is me just notching the middle of the sleeve. So I'll go ahead and face the sleeve. Then this is the outcome of the top. I used bias to turn the button. I actually really wanted to fold it, but I'm like, no, it will be too short. So I used bias. Hope you like this video.